It's my pleasure to welcome you here to the Clark Howard Show. You know, our mission is to serve you with advice and information that empowers you so you make better financial decisions in your life. Today, we're going back to basics on saving money. I am freaked out. I'm not concerned. I am freaked out about some recent stats about how we as Americans have turned our backs on saving money. And later, Ponzi schemes come and go, and sometimes there are waves of them. And for whatever reason, we're in a pattern of Ponzi's right now where people get taken and your money just goes poof. I want to talk about what you need to be looking out for to protect your wallet later in this podcast. And in addition, if you don't know, you may be watching our YouTube show. And I'd love for you to either just listen or watch. Either way, we serve you the way you want to be served here on the Clark Howard Show. Now, let me talk about why I'm freaked. There's a stat called the savings rate. It's how much of each dollar you make, you save. And America has always had the developed world's lowest savings rate. And historically, Americans save about, 6 cents of every dollar that they make. But that's just an average. During COVID, when so many people were at home and not commuting to an office or whatever was going on during particularly that first phase of COVID back in 20, Americans were saving like people do in other countries. Do you know Americans were saving on average almost a third of what they made? Somewhere around 30 cents of every dollar. Now remember, I said the average is about 6 cents of every dollar if you go over time. But after COVID, we had several things happen. We had the inflationary cycle, and we had revenge spending. And the inflationary cycle has been broken, but the spending has continued. And as I've always said in the past, there's a slice of Americans, about 20% of Americans, who are spending more than they make. It's called negative net spending is what economists call it, because just paying for life's necessities blows through everything you make. And that's clearly true for somewhere around 20 or so percent of Americans. For the rest of us, it's the choices we make. And so we go through these spending cycles. And right now, the average amount that an American is saving of each dollar they make is under 3 cents. It is less than half of the historical average and is now less than a tenth of what it was during that COVID cycle. And if you say, you're talking back to me on the podcast or the YouTube show, you're saying, well, what about all the costs we face? Yes. I 100% acknowledge that part of this is because a segment of us as Americans are being crushed by costs. But a lot of it is spending. And that's why you hear me always talk about living on less than what you make and saving first, and make saving automatic. There is no logical explanation for how our savings rate goes up and down, up and down, up and down. But regardless, our savings rate is much lower than in other developed societies. It is our mentality in the United States where we are like, hey, I want it, I'm going to get it, and that settles it. We are a consumer culture unlike any other on planet Earth. We love to have our stuff. We love to have our experiences. And don't I feed into it when I talk about, this is a deal now, that's a deal now, the other's a deal now. And you think, wow, well, I should go get that thing. And that's fine to get whatever deal there is if you've done the most important thing first, which is putting money aside from every paycheck, saving for the long term. Think about this. Think about what I said 2 minutes ago. During COVID, saving 30% of our pay, and that just took us to where people are in Asia and so many developed societies. So there's room for us to live differently, to think differently, and to build financial security. What I don't want is as your income goes up, you do what Americans do. There's even an economic term for it. We in the United States have the marginal propensity to consume. You know what that thing means? In America, as our income goes up, our spending goes up in tandem. And that's why in surveys, people who make a lot of money will say, yeah, I'm just one paycheck away from doom. Because as their income goes up, they aren't increasing the spread between income and spending, which is what people do in other cultures that we tend to have trouble doing. Think about it.
Okay, we'll go to questions. This one
was that too preachy?
I think it's what people want to hear, and we got to reinforce it. I like to keep hearing it too. I think it's really good to just take a look at everything we're doing.
Yes, ma'am.
AJ in Texas says, hi, Clark. Any thoughts on the new travel mobile service? Do you want me to say the name of it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Called Roamless. Seems like a reasonable option, especially for occasional global travelers.
Yeah, so AJ, let me explain what Roamless is and its many competitors. Now that most modern cell phones will take an electronic SIM instead of a physical, there are now services that have popped up around the world, and a lot marketing to us as Americans, that when you travel outside the United States, that you can buy an electronic service that goes onto your phone, very simple to do. Once you had one eSIM, they all seem easy from that point forward. And when you're overseas, you use the eSIM, you switch on your phone from your regular service to who you have the eSIM for. And instead of being ripped off like AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile do when you leave the United States, you have far more affordable cell service. So Roamless is something that, and its competitors, that make it easy for you to have a service that works outside the United States affordably. For people who travel frequently and routinely use SIMs overseas SIMs, these services like Roamless are not as cheap as like what I do when I get somewhere. And if I need to, I don't anymore because I have Google Fi. Before I had Google Fi, I would buy a local SIM, add it on my phone, and be able to use data service at a tiny, tiny cost for a trip while I was wherever. A lot of people find that a hassle. They don't want to deal with it. And so Roamless and its competitors are a really good compromise because you get much, much lower prices than with AT&T, T-Mobile, or Verizon. And you do it without the confusion or hassles that somebody like me faces. If you travel internationally a lot, though, Google Fi is the ticket. Because Google Fi you use outside the United States pretty much exactly like you do when you're in the U.S.
Rick in Arizona says, hello from always sunny Arizona. Many of my neighbors have solar panels, and in talking to some, there appears to be as many as different plans as there are different snakes in Arizona. So I'm confused and don't want to get ripped off. All I'm looking for is to buy the solar panels for cash and reap the rewards from the power company. Also, though not needed in summer, but in winter, I would like to take advantage of the sun to heat my pool by panels as well. Any tips? Thanks, and I really enjoy the show. I want to tell you how many times I say to my family and friends, I can't tell you how many times I say to my family and friends, well, Clark says.
Well, thank you for the marketing program you have
Thanks,
for
Rick.
me, Rick, in Arizona. We just talked about this in one of our staff meetings about all the people getting ripped off by the home solar companies with all these things, these promises. You're going to get your power for free and just pay us this much a month and do this lease on the solar panels. None of that. Don't even think about it. And anybody who tells you your power is going to be free, you run the other way. The right way to do it is what you're thinking of doing. If you want to put panels on your house, you want to own those panels. And in Arizona, because of there's a formula about how much power you can generate from panels. In Arizona, it's kind of like a no-brainer. One issue that you have in Arizona is your excess kilowatts. You may not be compensated fairly for those. When you're generating excess power and it's going back to the power company, and so eventually what you'll want to do that may or may not be an affordable option now is you want to put in battery backup where you're storing your own excess kilowatts, and when solar's not producing enough, you're using your own kilowatts that you produced instead of doing what is such a tough game. When you need kilowatts from your power provider in Arizona, you're paying them full retail. When you sell the excess to them, you're selling them at an ultra low rip-off wholesale price, and they're making the spread. And that's why as the batteries get cheaper and cheaper, you'll be your own power company at your house, not just when the sun is shining.
John in Georgia says, I signed up for the Delta SkyMiles Platinum card because of the sign-up bonus, but have been considering canceling it because of the high annual fee. I've heard you say your monthly spending needs to be significant to make a premium travel card worth it, but does that factor in the Platinum card's free companion pass? I've heard it said elsewhere that the companion pass pays for the annual fee by itself.
Okay, so here's the thing with the SkyMiles Platinum card. It is a free ticket, domestic, Caribbean, I think Central America as well.
Oh, is
now.
it? I don't know. I have that card.
That you buy one ticket and your companion goes for free. So unless you are very loyal to flying Delta, if you live in one of the Delta hubs, it's a false savings. Because if you live in Salt Lake, Minneapolis, Detroit, or Atlanta, Delta has such dominant market share that tickets are so much more money from them that the buy one, get one free may only get you back to what you would have just paid for 2 tickets on another airline. If you live in another place, not in one of those 4 cities, then having the companion ticket will pay off and will cover much or most or all of the annual membership fee on the Platinum card, which is a $350 annual fee. So it would overcome what I've said in the past about how these cards are only useful if you're charging somewhere $5,000 or so a month on the card. Is it worth it having an airline tied-in card from American, United, or Delta, any of the 3 full-fare airlines? So know that if you live in any city dominated as an American hub or United hub, like Newark in the New York metro area with United, Dallas with American, Denver with United, Chicago with United, Charlotte absolutely with American, any of these hub cities of the 3 full fare airlines, almost always you were paying so much more for your tickets flying that airline in that hub market than you are flying someone else, that if you are in the habit of only buying a ticket on that airline in that hub city and you start shopping around, you'll be stunned how much money you'll save not flying the hub airline in its own hub city. It's your money. Coming up ahead, talking about money flying away, Ponzi schemes are booming right now, and that's not a good thing. It's human nature that we're vulnerable to pitches that tell us we're going to make a lot of money in a very short period of time, and so often using the words guaranteed investment. And this has been a problem forever. But the internet and the ability for people to do pitches with YouTube videos and all that has made it much lower cost to the con artists to set up what appears to be a legitimate enterprise, pitch it around the country, and steal money. And I'm just looking at 2 days worth of stories on various Ponzi's, and it's just crazy. Like, here's one that got busted. 2 brothers that were stealing money from people around the country, one from Miami, one from Texas, that were stealing money in a crypto securities con, claiming that you were going to make all this money in crypto, that they had this special way of doing so, and they stole over $60 million. Just bam, just these 2 guys got together and concocted this Ponzi scheme around crypto, and they ran off with the money. What did they use it for? They bought multiple condos, houses, cars, RVs, and then, is so key with a Ponzi, they were taking money from early quote-unquote investors or later investors and using it to throw some money towards early ones so they could keep getting money until the whole thing collapsed and people's money is gone in all this stuff. As the Feds say, the high returns on crypto investments didn't exist because the crypto investments never existed. I mean, how about that? And so these people are facing significant time in prison, and it's just so common, and it's all different areas. I talked recently about how often this happens in real estate. And then, same day, I see a story about a $300 million theft of people's money in a supposed land development fund. There was no land, there was no fund, and people were putting in their retirement money, their hard-earned savings, getting friends and family to put money in, because this was a can't-lose kind of thing. And what did the promoters do? Well, they spent tons of money on private jets. They bought a yacht. They bought housing. It always seems to involve housing, which is funny because it was a real estate fund. They did use money to buy themselves real estate. And over again, what you've got is you've got people that are putting together something that is a story. It's always a story. And the law now, there's a law that Congress passed with the best of intentions, but it allows individuals to set up a phony investment thing without having to provide real disclosure to anybody. And so all they have to do is spend their time creating this veil of legitimacy. And then through that, they promote things that just give you this possibility where they say, can you imagine taking your money and having it do blah, blah, blah? Which leads me to the last story. The Wall Street Journal has a reporter who I adore named Jason Zweig. He is a brilliant writer, and he does hard work. So this thing came on his radar about an investment advisory firm, financial planning firm, that was pitching a guaranteed investment at a minimum annual yield, guaranteed, of 17%. Now, you think about it, having 17% return on your money would be extraordinary and fantastic. But guaranteeing it year after year? And so Jason Zweig starts asking questions. And it turns out there is no there. It was all completely phony. And there are all these online brochures and promising colossal yields without the risk. The interest you earn is locked in and can't be lost. You can lock it in perpetuity. Wow. Even Bernie Madoff, when he stole everybody's money, was only promising 10%. That may be inflation. Now they're promising 17% when they steal your money in deposits that they claimed at this financial planning firm were FDIC insured. So you couldn't possibly lose any money. But all of it turned out to be hot air, nothing there. And before a single penny was stolen, Jason Zweig put on his Superman cape, exposed it, and no money was taken. And this one was hatched out of Florida, by the way. But the thing is, these things come one after another. I have a list here. I can't even go through all these because the point is made. Anytime you're being pitched any kind of private placement and somebody's promising you extraordinary returns, know that you're either A, going to be put in something that's absolutely terrible, or B, you're going to be put in a con that's going to steal your money. There is no C in the private placement world. It will always be a ripoff of high fees when it's legit, or B, it won't be legit at all and they're stealing your money. Don't fall for the pitches.
All right, I got a pitch for you here.
Here we go.
Jeff in Oklahoma wrote in about this. We are thinking about investing $50K into an industry called automated trucking. Essentially, you're leasing an 18-wheeler, and the company manages your loads, drivers, every facet of the business. You're not liable or tied to the truck in any way.
And how much money are you guaranteed to make?
The company managing covers all insurance and drivers and trucks. This is a passive income opportunity. We have researched the company, and they have been in business for over 30 years. Talked to several investors that have done this, and everyone seems to be clearing approximately $5K a month. Most trucks clear around $7,500, but management fees are approximately $2,500 monthly a truck. This seems too good to be true. We would make our money back in 10 months, then would be making a passive income of $5K per truck invested. Everyone and everything has been researched, and it seems legitimate. What are your thoughts?
Complete scam. In fact, there's a federal release about this whole thing with the automated trucking scam. And all the people telling you how great it is are either people who are getting money in order to be touts. They don't realize that they're part of a scam in many cases, or they are part of the scam. It is not legit, and anybody who is listening or is watching who is an over-the-road trucker can tell you right away. Just stop at any truck stop and ask a trucker if this could possibly be true, and they will tell you it's a bunch of hooey. And so I don't know who's telling you you're going to make $60,000 a year on this deal.
Per truck.
Per truck.
More, yeah.
It is a big, fat lie. And you can go read, if you go online and read the federal release about it, you will understand that everything you've been told is just that, a con.
Because when you think about it, right, why would they need you as a
They don't
middleman?
need you.
That's
I didn't
the
even
key.
say that, but that's
Yeah.
the point. Anything that would generate that kind of wild profit, they're not going to share it with you. Why would they? They never would share it with you.
Colby in North Carolina says, I'm 21, got married, and graduated from college this year.
Well, a lot of
It's a
things
lot.
happened to you at 21.
In June, I started working for a nonprofit. As part of my benefits, I receive a retirement match of $50 a month. My organization offers this through an insurance company I showed you, Clark. I currently already have about $6,000 in a Roth IRA split between Charles Schwab and Fidelity. My question is this company a good company to place my retirement in? Should I move everything over into this company? Or should I take the match and keep my other accounts? I'm just not sure what the tax implication would be later on.
Yeah, this is a terrible choice for a retirement plan company. They are an ultra high cost insurer, and you want to pick up the company match in the plan. You don't want to put any more money into it, and absolutely you would be like snatching defeat from the jaws of victory, taking Roth IRAs from either Fidelity or Schwab and putting them with this ultra high cost, inefficient insurance company. Oh my goodness, that would be terrible. So yeah, what you do, just do what you said in the either or scenario. You're on the right path. You only put in up to the match, pick up the money in the employer plan. Everything else you do should be in a Roth. And I wouldn't keep running two Roth IRAs. I would do it. Both companies are good companies. Whichever one seems more suited to you, being with Fidelity or Schwab, go with one of them. You're creating unnecessarily complication by having two Roth IRAs.
Matt in Ohio says, Clark, you seem to be all-knowing when it comes to Costco.
What is this with the Costco
I know,
stuff
there
this
were
week?
a lot. All right. My question is, what does Costco do with returns? Is there some secret warehouse where they are sold for pennies on the dollar? Please let us know where the returns go, and I'll plan the next family vacation to that locale. You're the best. It's like, you know how the airlines, like there's that, is it in Alabama where they have all the lost items from the airline?
Unclaimed baggage. It's in Scottsboro, Alabama.
Oh,
I've been there.
I'm sure.
In fact, I did a TV special on it that ran on the TV stations
remember that.
around the country of going to unclaimed baggage in Scottsboro, Alabama. And a lot of people are not like me. When they travel, they actually take luggage, they check the luggage, and they take their better stuff. I don't have any better stuff. And so you find really, really nice things there many times. And the clothing tends to be much better than anything I would ever buy that's available there. So enough about that. Let's talk about Costco. So Costco does use what used to be called jobbers. I don't know the term for it now. Salvage kind of people who bid on their returns, and they will end up like, let's say you return a TV after you're allowed to return a TV the first 90 days to Costco. So you return that TV, they can't put it back on the floor. So in each region of the country, Costco puts those kind of things out for bid, and they end up in some salvage place. And if you befriend a manager in the store, you say, hey, where do your return TVs go? Or where does your return clothing go? Or whatever. And if they know and they tell you, you'll find out what salvagers they're using in your area where you can buy the stuff ultra cheap, because that salvager bought the stuff for like pennies on the dollar. You might pay dimes on the dollar depending on what it is. But yes, it is a way for you to save money. It's not just Costco that does this. There are other retailers that sell off distressed goods or even merchandise that didn't turn quickly enough. They'll sell it off or give it to charity after a certain period of time at a lot of retailers. And so knowing where those things go can save you quite a bit of money. And I want to thank you so much for joining us today. That's just one example, Matt's question, of a way you may be able to save money that comes with hazard and opportunity that you might not have known about otherwise. And that's what we're about, is giving you ways to save more of your money, to stretch every dollar, spend less every day, and especially, as you heard me talking about with the Ponzi schemes, I want you to avoid getting ripped off, because I don't want anybody getting ripped off ever, not ever. And see you tomorrow.